The cold, unforgiving bars pressed against my back as I sat on the worn-out cot in my dimly lit cell. The flickering fluorescent light overhead cast eerie shadows that danced on the cold, gray walls. It had been weeks since I was accused of the murder, a crime I vehemently denied committing. But the evidence was stacked against me, and the court had spoken.
Guilty.
I was now an inmate awaiting the darkness of my fate. The night was restless, filled with whispers that slithered through the narrow corridors of the prison. As I lay in the suffocating silence, a bone-chilling chill crept into my soul. That's when I heard it, the soft, mournful wail echoing through the prison, like a ghost searching for redemption. At first, I dismissed it as a figment of my imagination, a byproduct of the guilt and fear that consumed my every waking moment, but the spectral cries persisted, growing louder with each passing night. It wasn't long before the other inmates caught wind of the haunting, and a palpable tension gripped the prison. The victim, a faceless memory from my troubled past, had returned from the grave to exact a chilling revenge. I could feel his presence, an icy breath on the back of my neck, a constant reminder of the life I had taken. Sleep became a distant luxury as the haunted soul tormented me through the veil between the living and the dead. In the blackness of my cell, I saw his face pale and contorted with an otherworldly rage. The eyes, once filled with the warmth of life, were now vacant, hollow orbs that bore into my very soul. He reached out to me, his spectral fingers grazing the cold metal bars. I recoiled, paralyzed by the terror that gripped my heart. The prison, once a bastion of routine and order, descended into chaos. Inmates whispered tales of the vengeful spirit, warning each other not to cross the path of the murderer cursed by the very soul he had stolen. The guards, hardened by years of witnessing the worst humanity had to offer, couldn't escape the growing unease that permeated the air. As the haunting intensified, so did the physical toll on my body. Dark circles clung to my hollow eyes, and the once vibrant color drained from my face. The guilt that had gnawed at my conscience festered into a festering wound, and the wails of the ghostly apparition became a symphony of my torment. In a desperate attempt to escape the clutches of the vengeful spirit, I sought solace in the prison chapel. The flickering candles cast a warm glow as I knelt, hands clasped in desperate prayer. But even within the hallowed space, I couldn't escape the accusing eyes of the ethereal presence that haunted my every step. The chaplain, a man of unwavering faith, tried to console me with words of redemption and forgiveness, but the ghostly specter remained unforgiving, a relentless force that clung to the bars of my cell like a malevolent shadow. As the days turned into endless nights, I could no longer distinguish between the waking world and the realm of the dead. The boundaries blurred, and I found myself caught in a perpetual nightmare. The haunted cries of the murdered soul merged with my own anguished screams, creating a cacophony of despair that echoed through the desolate halls of the prison. In the heart of that spectral torment, I questioned the nature of justice. Was I truly paying for my sins, or had I become a pawn in the ghostly game of a vengeful spirit? The line between reality and the supernatural became increasingly thin, and I braced myself for the inevitable reckoning that awaited me beyond the cold, unforgiving bars of my prison cell. The prison, once a place of routine and order, now teetered on the edge of madness. Inmates spoke in hushed tones, exchanging tales of the haunted murderer and the ghost that refused to be silenced. Some claimed to have seen the apparition wandering the corridors, its ethereal form flickering in and out of existence like a phantom in the mist. Guards, once stoic and unyielding, now cast furtive glances over their shoulders as they patrolled the cell blocks. The haunting had infiltrated every corner of the prison, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy. Whispers of the supernatural reached the outside world, and the prison became a subject of fascination for paranormal enthusiasts and thrill seekers. I, however, remained trapped in the center of the maelstrom. The spectral visits persisted, each encounter more intense than the last. The ghostly figure would materialize at the foot of my cot, its eyes burning with an intensity that seared into my soul. It spoke not in words, but in haunting whispers that echoed the regrets of a life cut short. As the ghostly presence enveloped me, I began to see glimpses of the past, a life extinguished in the blink of an eye. I witnessed the joyous moments stolen away, the dreams shattered, and the loved ones left behind to mourn. It was a relentless barrage of guilt and remorse, a ceaseless torment that wore away at the last vestiges of my sanity. Desperation clung to me like a second skin as I grappled with the haunting that seemed to have no end. In the dead of night, I pleaded with the ghost for mercy, promising to undo the irreversible, to somehow make amends for the life I had taken. But the specter remained unmoved, its silent judgment condemning me to an eternity of remorse. The prison became a crucible of the supernatural and the human, a place where the boundaries between this world and the next blurred into a nightmarish tapestry. The other inmates, once bound by the common thread of incarceration, now eyed me with a mixture of fear and suspicion. They believed that my presence had unleashed a malevolent force upon the prison, a force that showed no mercy. The authorities, grappling with the escalating chaos, decided to transfer me to a solitary cell in the hope of containing the paranormal epidemic. But even in the isolation of that cold, unforgiving space, the ghostly torment persisted. The walls seemed to close in, and the air grew thick with the weight of the unseen presence that haunted me. Days turned into weeks, and the line between reality and delusion blurred into a disorienting haze. I wondered if I had become a prisoner not just of the physical confines of the prison, but of a supernatural curse that clung to me like a relentless shadow. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by the ceaseless torment of the haunted specter that invaded my every waking moment. In the grip of madness, I began to question the nature of the crime I was accused of. Was the ghostly apparition truly the spirit of the one I had allegedly murdered, or was it a manifestation of my own guilt and unraveling sanity? The prison walls, once solid and impenetrable, seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy that whispered secrets of the afterlife. As the haunting reached its crescendo, I found myself standing on the precipice of a choice: accept my fate as a vessel for the vengeful spirit or confront the darkness that lurked within my own soul. The prison, now a crucible of supernatural and psychological torment, awaited the unraveling of a truth that defied the boundaries of the tangible and the ethereal. In the solitary confinement of my new cell, the ghostly encounters took on a new intensity. The air crackled with unseen energy, and the walls seemed to pulsate with a sinister heartbeat. I became acutely aware that the haunting was not a mere consequence of my alleged crime. It was a manifestation of a deeper, unresolved darkness that had long festered within me. As I grappled with the dual specters of the supernatural and my own tortured conscience, the line between waking and dreaming became increasingly indistinguishable. The ghostly figure that haunted my every moment began to morph, its features contorting into a grotesque caricature of my own face. It was as though the malevolent force feeding on my guilt had taken on my own tormented visage. In the midst of this psychological descent, I became plagued by vivid nightmares that blurred the boundaries between the crime I was accused of and the twisted visions that danced in the shadows of my subconscious. The victim, a faceless silhouette in life, now materialized in my dreams with accusing eyes that bore into the recesses of my guilt-ridden soul. Days turned into nights, and the haunting became an inescapable labyrinth of torment. I stumbled through the darkened corridors of my own psyche, pursued by the relentless apparition that mirrored my every step. The prison itself seemed to warp and contort, its architecture becoming a nightmarish reflection of my own fractured mind. In moments of fragile lucidity, I sought solace in the cryptic whispers of the other inmates. They, too, had become ensnared in the tendrils of the paranormal, their stories weaving a tapestry of collective dread. Some claimed to have glimpsed the tormented spirit, while others spoke of inexplicable phenomena, objects moving of their own accord, ghostly moans echoing through the halls, and a pervasive feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. The prison, now a crucible of supernatural and psychological torment, became a canvas for the convergence of guilt, fear, and the inexplicable. The authorities, desperate to contain the escalating chaos, enlisted the help of paranormal investigators and clergy to cleanse the institution of its spectral infestation, but their efforts seemed futile against the inexorable grip of the supernatural. As the outside world buzzed with rumors of the haunted prison and its tormented inmate, the walls of my cell seemed to close in. I grappled with the duality of my existence, the accused murderer shackled by the chains of the legal system and the tormented soul ensnared by the supernatural forces that defied explanation. In a surreal twist of fate, a renowned paranormal investigator arrived at the prison, armed with an array of esoteric tools and a determination to unravel the mysteries that clung to the haunted corridors. The air crackled with anticipation as the investigator delved into the history of the crime, seeking to unearth the truth buried beneath layers of darkness. The investigation brought to light a series of chilling revelations, long-buried secrets, forgotten vendettas, and a history of violence that echoed through the annals of the prison's past. It became apparent that the spectral figure that haunted me was not just a manifestation of my guilt but a conduit for the restless spirits that lingered within the prison's walls. As the investigator delved deeper into the supernatural underbelly of the prison, a séance was conducted in an attempt to communicate with the vengeful spirits that held sway. In the flickering candlelight, the air became charged with an otherworldly energy, and the veil between the living and the dead seemed to thin. The ghostly figure, once a harbinger of dread, now spoke through the medium with a voice that carried the weight of unresolved grievances. The truth, obscured by the passage of time, emerged as a haunting narrative of betrayal, revenge, and a life cut short. The victim, in death, sought not only retribution but a semblance of peace that had long eluded his tortured soul. In the wake of this revelation, the prison underwent a profound transformation. The paranormal disturbances that had gripped the institution gradually subsided, and an eerie calm settled over the once tormented halls. The other inmates, released from the oppressive grip of the supernatural, began to rebuild their shattered lives. As for me, the accused murderer caught in the nexus of the living and the dead, the truth became both a liberation and a damning condemnation. The legal system, oblivious to the paranormal revelations, maintained its judgment, and I remained imprisoned by the chains of a crime that extended beyond the boundaries of the mortal realm. The haunted prison, now a relic of a tumultuous past, stood as a testament to the fragility of human existence and the lingering echoes of sins that transcended the confines of life and death. The spectral figure, having delivered its message, faded into the shadows, leaving behind an indelible mark on the haunted corridors and the tortured soul that bore witness to the convergence of the supernatural and the all-too-human.